I know me personally, I've got a bunch of really awesome things that I would like to get started doing, but as a student, I don't have the most resources beyond what's available here. You obviously have a lot of experience working with very little. What kind of advice would you have for a student like me or like us who wants to put our ideas into action, but we don't have the most resources available?
Would make sure that there's an existing market for whatever you're going to be doing. It's a lot riskier if you've got a new product or something that you think is great. If it is a new product, you're going to have to do test market. So I always look for existing markets and do a better job. That's the number one thing I would do. In addition to that, I would really love what I was doing, to the point that you just do it night and day. Even when you're asleep, you dream about it. And then, of course, you're going to need to have a business plan and know how much money it's going to cost to go into business. But those are some of the main things that I look out for.
With all of this success, how has it affected your spirituality and your relationship with God?
I'm a born-again Christian. I pray every single night, and it's one of the things. Some nights I don't get through my prayers because I fall asleep, and it's one of the things that I have no worries. I really have no worries. My mother was great at that. She said, just take your worries, stick them in a shoebox or something, put them on the shelf at night and go to sleep. And in the morning they'll still be there and you can deal with them then. And it was great advice. My mom's a whole different story, and one of these days, another talk like this, we'll talk about her, because she didn't have an education. She went back to school after we went into the boarding homes or the foster homes, and she eventually got a nursing degree at 44 years old when she started. She was 48 when she finished. She put my 3 younger brothers through college. So I look at her as my number one hero. My number 2 hero is Winston Churchill. He, for those of you that are history buffs, and if you know anything about World War II, he was able to hold that whole country together for 2 or 3 years against the Germans until the US finally came into the war. And he did it by getting on the radio every night and convincing people they could win the war. They'd fight on the sea, they'd fight on the fields, they'd fight on the shores, they'd fight wherever they had to, but they were going to fight until they won. And that's what it takes. You have to have a very solid belief in what you're doing. And it takes a very spiritual person. It takes, in my opinion, somebody that has a good relationship with God.
Foster. I'm a Christian Ministries major here at ACU. My question to you is, who was included in your businessman and entrepreneur network? Were there any big names such as Steve Jobs or Bill Gates?
You know what's interesting? Although I was older than Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, I know them both. Steve Jobs, of course, passed away about 10 years ago, but I know them both. I've had dinner with both of them at least 8 or 10 times. You know, there's things that I would say I really like about them, and there are other things that I would criticize about them. Steve Jobs, he was very, very tough on people. You don't have to be that tough on people. You have to set a good example for them. There's a great organization, it's called PragerU. Have any of you listened to any of the PragerU? Person back there, one person in this room. Oh, there were? I just had cataract surgery and I'm not seeing that well yet. But anyway, PragerU will give you both sides of the story. Watch all the news programs, study history, read. My wife is great at doing audiobooks. She walks around with her earphones on, and half the time I'm talking to her and she can't hear a word I'm saying. Maybe that's why we have such a great relationship. But, you know, be a student your entire life. It's so important to be learning every single day you're alive. Make sure you learn something new every day. Be a student of history. Read the Bible. There's more good stuff in the Bible as far as the way people operated. And you'll find out that there was the same kind of, Sodom and Gomorrah, in my opinion, is kind of what we have today. These are really trying times. Are they the end times? I don't know. But I will tell you this. If somebody is going one way, if the whole crowd is going that way, go the other way. That's sort of the way I live my life, and that's sort of the way I run my business. If all my competitors are doing one thing, I find a different route the other way.
Am I correct in understanding that you were somewhat of an introvert?
I know my wife is over there laughing. I was shy as a kid. I do better in a crowd like this than I do one-on-one. But it's anything that you're going to do that's worthwhile, you have to do it over and over and over. It's like mother's work. It's never done. In order to get good at it, you have to do it a lot. And you have to push through your fears. How many of you have done public speaking in the room? Okay, quite a few of you. I would imagine the first time you stood up in front of an audience, you were probably scared or maybe even petrified. But just remember, the crowd, the audience doesn't know that. So just talk like you're talking to one or two people. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's the same thing in business. And I've had to learn a lot. I've had to learn social media. I'd love to have all of you as connections. So if you're not on LinkedIn, join it and send me an invite. I'll accept every single one from Arizona Christian University. And then the reason I'm telling you this, I've been sharing my whole life story, well, at least from the time I started Inter-Tel up until the present. And then I'm going to start sharing business tips.
Do you still fly?
I don't fly anymore because I grounded myself. I grounded myself about 10 years ago because my eyes started going bad. And I realized that even though I could have flown blindfolded just about, I flew very sophisticated airplanes, and you can program everything into them. Takeoff, landing, your path and all the rest. But I decided it was time for me to hang up my pilot's license when I looked in the back seat and all the passengers were horrified because I was programming the computers using a magnifying glass. Anyway, when I needed a magnifying glass to see the instruments, I figured it was time to quit flying.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.